What is up, Insaners, and welcome to another video of the Fantasy Premier League 2021-22 season. Guys, we're just moments away from the last double game week of the season, Game Week 37, and we're here to provide you with some final last-minute tips that should help you finalize your transfers for this week. We've also done a strategy guide video which covers the overall strategy from Game Week 35 to 38, guys, and a free hit guide specifically for Game Week 37, so make sure to check those out as well. The links will be in the description. Now guys, if you find today's video helpful, make sure that you give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to the channel as well, guys. We are very close to reaching 1000 subscribers, guys, and please help us get there. Great, with that, let's start with the golden question. I think the biggest question of this game week: what to do with Mo Salah? Now that has become the biggest talking point of this game week, guys. Just before the game week deadline, just before the day that deadline happens, the FA Cup final happened between Chelsea and Liverpool. Of course, Liverpool won on penalties, they won the FA Cup. But the biggest dilemma now FPL managers face is that what to do with Mo Salah, considering that he was taken off very early in the game and could have an injury. Now guys, according to the post-match reaction of Klopp, he told us that Salah felt something and probably he was taken off as a precautionary measure. But again, guys, we can't really make out a lot from what Klopp has said in his comments. I mean, of course, we probably wouldn't have expected him to tell us a lot about the Salah injury, especially with the Champions League final very close. But the issue still remains, guys. What do we do with Mo Salah? Now let's get something very clear and very early out in this video, guys. If you are playing safe, if effective ownership, which is the total ownership of Mo Salah, if that affects you, then I think you should probably not take him out. That's the safest play out there, guys. That is just being very safe and very plain, guys. But I personally see an opportunity here. Now, if you are chasing, guys, if you are chasing in your mini leagues, if you've fallen behind to that KDB massive haul last week, and now you're chasing your rivals in your mini leagues, maybe you're trying to catch up on ranks, you can take out Salah by getting in a different player. Now, the question is which player to go for. Guys, if you don't have Son in your team right now, I think he has to be the priority transfer this week. Let's say if you want to take out Salah, I think Son is a very able replacement, and he's also a great single captaincy option, single game week captaincy option this week. Personally, my priority will be Son, guys. I'm also thinking of getting Son in my team, and I think if you don't have him, he has to be the number one player that you get him in. Now, in case if you already have Son, a lot of you might already have Son, and in case if that's true, guys, then I think KDB is also a great option to go for. I still feel KDB against West Ham, and that too an away fixture, against a full-strength West Ham squad, guys, that might be a bit tricky. But we've seen what Man City is doing to teams right now. Yes, West Ham is probably going to be a much more difficult opposition to face, but Man City are still playing well, KDB is playing really well, and if you don't have him, guys, this is an opportunity, this is probably an easier way to get him in your team this week. KDB faces West Ham this week, and then it's Aston Villa away, so there's still some potential of points there. Now, in case, guys, if you're not convinced with Kevin De Bruyne, there's also an opportunity to go for a Liverpool different option in your midfield. I understand that the likes of Sadio Mane and Luis Diaz, they've played majority minutes in that FA Cup final, which went on to penalties. But in case if you are looking at an alternate option, I think Jota is also a good pick to go for. I personally feel that Diaz is the number one option. He's the priority player in terms of the 11 in the Champions League final. So I think Jota is gonna get minutes, and you can absolutely get him in your team. Guys, the other options are probably different midfielders in the likes of Maddison, Zaha, and in case if you've not had them, there's also a chance to go for these midfielders and probably upgrade one of your strikers to a Harry Kane. I personally feel, guys, that Kane is going to end the season very strong. Of course, right now we know that he's on penalties. That might change if Son is very close to winning the Golden Boot. But in general, Kane's numbers have been really good over the past few game weeks. He's also scored in the last game week, and there's a haul potential for Kane against Burnley. Honestly, guys, I think the double up with Son and Kane for the rest remaining 2 game weeks for 37 and 38, that looks very strong. So there's a potential that you can target these different options. As I said earlier, guys, I'm probably going to get Son instead and then make some other transfers. What are you planning to do with Salah? Do let me know in the comments below. Now let's get to the second question, guys. What are the best Aston Villa options this week? Talking about Aston Villa, guys, they have a double game week in 37, and there are a few options that you can go for. Aston Villa players are great if you are on a free hit, guys, as it gives you an opportunity to get rid of them in game week 38 when they play against Man City. But in case if you are making regular transfers, regular moves, make sure that you have a plan to use them or maybe keep them on the bench in game week 38. Now, which players to go for? I think you have to look at defense, guys. You have to look at the Aston Villa defense, considering that there are players like Cash and Digne, who both are quite attacking. There is a lot of potential in terms of FPL points. They can score goals, they can provide you assists. Aston Villa, yes, they haven't really been that great in terms of defensive numbers, but they can still keep a clean sheet, maybe 2 in this game week. So if I have to target maybe 3 players from Aston Villa, I think I would maybe go for a double up, especially on a free hit with Lucas Digne and Cash. Now, when you talk about which one to go for, guys, there's a lot of conversation in terms of which one is better. Digne overall looks like a better pick, but there are a lot of murmurs in the community that Digne might get benched for one game and Young can easily replace him. But I personally feel I would still go for Digne. Yes, there is a bit of risk in terms of rotation, but I just feel he's probably the better option. If money is not an issue, guys, I think Cash is the option to go for. In terms of the overall play, I think Digne might outscore Cash, but yes, you have that risk of rotation, and if you don't want to risk it, you go Cash. If you're okay taking a bit of a risk, then you go Digne. In terms of other players to target, guys, there are a couple of midfielders that you can maybe target in your team for this week. Yes, there is Philippe Coutinho. There's a lot of questions again in terms of if Watkins is going to start, and if he doesn't start, then Coutinho can play up top with Ings, and that will really help him in terms of FPL potential. That also in fact helps Ings, because with Coutinho playing up top, he could probably get more big chances and there's more potential to score goals. If I have to rank all those guys in terms of a transfer, my priority would be to get Ings. I think number 2 would be Coutinho and third would be Watkins. In case if you already have Coutinho, guys, you can still hold him. I think he's still a good option to go for. Now let's talk about the third question. What are the best players to target if you're chasing rank? Now guys, this is a great opportunity for you to gain some ranks, especially when there's a double game week, especially when there might be no Salah and there might be a lot of people, lot of players taking a few hits to get in some players. If you want to play a bit safer and still kind of want to take some chances, you can go for the likes of Ings and Digne, which I mentioned just a bit earlier. I think they're really good options. They're probably going to be differentials ahead of somebody like a Zaha, who also has a good haul potential this week, guys. The only thing that worries me is that Palace is playing away. Yes, there is still an argument to make that Zaha, it doesn't really matter to Zaha if there are away games. I think his record is still pretty good, but I don't think so he's going to be that big of a differential. The likes of Richarlison as well, I think a lot of people will own him, so he won't really give you a huge rank boost. But guys, in case if you want to go in defense, you can also go for an Everton defender, and Mykolenko looks like a really good option. He might not be as attacking as, let's say, like a Cash or Digne, guys, but I still feel Everton probably, I would want to target their defenders more than their attackers. I don't see Everton as a side who's gonna score 3 or 4 goals. Yes, you can argue that even if they score a couple of goals, Richarlison might be involved in both of them, especially when he is also on penalties, but I just trust the Everton defense a little bit more than their attack. Now in case, guys, if you also want to chase, there's also an option to go for somebody like a Diaz or a Jota. Yes, their ownership might still be higher because of last week, but I just feel they could be really good options now, especially when Salah might not feature in game week 37. Another option is Jamie Vardy, guys. I don't think so Maddison specifically would be a differential. A lot of people on their free hits, guys, they would be going for Maddison, and I think at least in the top 10k, his ownership is going to be quite high. Now talking about Vardy, guys, I think it's a great option. He could be your KDB this week, guys. I think there is a good haul potential in Jamie Vardy. He can score goals. Yes, one of the games in this double is against Chelsea, but we know that Vardy likes to score against the bigger teams, guys. And yes, he can also score against Watford. It's just that minutes might be a bit of an issue because of Leicester having so many games very recently. Vardy also coming back from injury very recently. He might not feature for 90 minutes in back-to-back games, and that is the only kind of red mark to go for Jamie Vardy. Having said that, guys, I would still personally go for Jamie Vardy. In fact, I will try in my own team to kind of make a space for Jamie Vardy, and let's see if that happens or not. But I generally feel Vardy is a good option. He's a risky option, but I think he's a great differential this week. High risk, high reward, and if you can manage that expectation, guys, you absolutely go for him. Now let's talk about the next question, guys. What are the best midfielders to target this week? Now I've already covered a little bit in terms of midfielders, in terms of the premium options to go for, maybe even the slightly cheaper options. But guys, if I have to rank these midfielders in a priority order, I would absolutely prioritize having Son in my team. I think he has a great potential to get FPL points this week, guys. He's fighting for that golden boot. We know how frustrated he was when he was taken off in the last game. He's definitely eyeing to be the top scorer in Premier League this season, guys, and I think Son will definitely go for it. He's also a great captaincy option against Burnley, who might not keep it very tight at the back as they really have to go for a win in this game. If I was you, I would definitely prioritize Son, guys. The other option is that if you already have Son, then what do? You can of course go for a KDB, guys, but I think there are better options than KDB, especially when KDB is that expensive, guys. I know he scored 4 goals in the last game and he could have had more, but I just feel the opposition is slightly different in this game. I don't think so City are gonna smash 4 or 5 goals past West Ham. And that's why I feel players like Zaha and Maddison, they're really good picks. If I have to rank them, guys, I'll probably rank Zaha ahead of Maddison. Maddison a bit safer, so if you're trying to protect your rank, even on a free hit, I think you probably prefer him. But Zaha has a potential to go massive, guys. He's a great differential. In general, I don't think so he's going to be that big of a differential, but I still feel there is more haul potential in a Zaha this week. So I think it's going to be Son first, KDB second, then it's Zaha and Maddison. And of course, you can also go for somebody from Liverpool. But then Liverpool played a lot of minutes in that FA Cup final, guys. Maybe Jota is the preferred one to go for right now, considering that Diaz is probably number 1 in that playing 11 against Real Madrid. So if you want to go a bit differential, yes, Jota doesn't have a double game week, so you're not getting out 2 games, but still he's a decent option. If you are looking at a single game week player, maybe if you don't trust Zaha and Maddison enough, then I think Jota is an option. Otherwise, you go for a double game week player. Now let's talk about the last question for this video, guys. What to do with Chelsea assets? I know Chelsea assets also played a lot of minutes in the FA Cup final. We know that the likes of Reece James, Marcus Alonso, and even Mason Mount, they played majority, in fact most of the game. They played the entire 120 minutes plus penalties. So you'll imagine there might be some rotation. Chelsea, to be honest, guys, they just need 1 point to secure their top 4 space, and we might see some rotation this week. I would still argue that the likes of James, Alonso, maybe even Mason Mount, they can go absolutely big because they also have a decent fixture next week. Chelsea are playing Watford in the final game week, guys, and that could be a massive score. So I think there is still merit in holding the likes of James, Alonso and Mount. If you're playing a slightly longer game which involves both the game weeks, guys, I think you go for them. They're still decent holds. I can argue that you can take out Mason Mount, maybe get somebody else like a Zaha, maybe even Maddison. But you are risking losing some points against a Watford team. Now in case, guys, if you don't have any double game week players and maybe a Mount is your route, is your entry to a Zaha, to a Maddison, maybe an upgrade to a Son for example, especially if it's Son, guys, I'll probably make that move. But in a different scenario, guys, I'll probably just hold Mount. Yes, there could be some rotation, but I'll take that chance. Even James and Alonso, right? If you don't have players, maybe from Aston Villa, and you want to at least have one, you can possibly go maybe an Alonso to maybe a Cash or a Digne. But in any other scenario, guys, I probably won't make that transfer. So that'll be all from my side, guys. I hope I was able to give you some clarity in terms of your final moves and teams for Game Week 37. Now do smash that like button if you enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well, guys. We'll be back for the deadline stream. Like last week, this is gonna be a long one, and I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you Insaners next time.